What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Pistons Daily, where you can find daily content covering all things Detroit Pistons every single day. I'm your host. My name is Kyle Garrison. I'm over on Twitter at Kyle Garrison2, where I talk all things Detroit sports. So head over there, give me comments, questions, concerns, episode ideas. I'd love to hear from all you guys. Also, head over to Spotify, leave a review, leave a follow. We are up and running over there, trying to expand across all platforms. So I would really appreciate if you go check it out. Shout out to everyone who tunes in every single day. And with that being said, let's jump right into today's video. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about today is just the discourse surrounding the Marcus Sasser and Dennis Jenkins situation. Obviously, with Dennis Jenkins playing an exceptional summer league, there's a lot of people in the Pistons community that are skeptical whether or not Dennis Jenkins should be the backup point guard instead of Marcus Sasser. And I just wanted to touch on that today, kind of give my thoughts on that. And I think the biggest thing with this situation is just that Dennis Jenkins is showing the ability to play that true backup point guard role. He's a very good facilitator, great defender at the point of attack, can get downhill. His shot is looking a lot better as well, especially off the dribble. And I will say with Marcus Sasser, some of the inefficiencies come with his just pure point guard play, and whether that be his handle, his facilitating, just overall playmaking and whatnot. His ability to score at a high level is not the question. We know that he is an incredible scorer and an incredible basketball player, and I think in fact that he's a much better basketball player overall than Dennis Jenkins. But just with the fact that Dennis Jenkins is a much better on-ball player and Marcus Sasser is much better off-ball, it kind of raises the question of what's the future of both these players on the team. Basically, kind of my biggest thing with this is last year with Marcus Sasser, if they really trusted him to be your primary ball handler off the bench and kind of run the second unit, then they wouldn't have gone out and gotten Dennis Schroeder. Obviously, Marcus Sasser can improve. He can make a year-to-year jump and whatnot, but it's just a little eye-opening that the front office did decide to go out and get a guy like Dennis Schroeder because they didn't really want Marcus Sasser to be playing significant minutes in the playoffs. And like I said, Marcus Sasser is an incredible scorer. I know he had 40 points in the Summer League last year, so we have to take the Summer League with a grain of salt, but he is an incredible scorer overall. He showed that ability at Houston, and he's even showed it in the NBA so far. There's been a lot of games where he's come in and provided great minutes off of the bench, but I am just a little bit concerned with the overall play as point guard specifically, and his ability to defend quicker guards and his ability to run the offense as a whole. But before I have people in the comments saying, oh, you just don't like Marcus Sasser, I am here to say that Marcus Sasser is most definitely a better true scorer and just overall basketball player than Dennis Jenkins. But they're both very, very talented. Both can be true, and we can get excited about both of them, and it doesn't have to be at the expense of one or the other. I just think it's an interesting conversation to have because it is a luxury, like I mentioned in yesterday's episode, to have to have a lot of guard depth and have different players that you can plug in and give you different looks. So having a guy like Marcus Sasser and Dennis Jenkins on the roster is definitely a possibility. Obviously, there comes some questions with the size on the floor, both of them being around 6'1", 6-foot point guards. But if you have Caris LeVert in the second unit as well as Marcus Sasser, he can kind of play off ball. And then you can put Dennis Jenkins in there, maybe have Duncan Robinson at the 2, give you a little bit bigger of a lineup, something like that. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but there is a possibility where they can play. I just don't know if they can play at the exact same time. And so I think that's where a lot of the speculation on whether or not if Dennis Jenkins is brought onto the 15-man roster, if he were to take over Marcus Sasser's role. And I don't right now envision that being a possibility. It is the Summer League, like I mentioned, so Dennis Jenkins' performance can be a little bit watered down just because he's playing against weaker competition. So, it's a completely different game when he gets out an NBA court, and he could kind of fold, and the defense could be a bit inconsistent at times against some of the best players in the world. So, I like to have the conversation, and I like to look at every option that the Pistons have and just give you guys the information. So let me know what you guys think. If the Dennis Jenkins, his performance and his abilities are kind of getting blown out of proportion, or if you actually think he can be a rotational piece going forward. Also, let me know your guys' thoughts on Marcus Sasser, whether you like him, whether you'd like to see the Pistons kind of go in a different direction. I personally think that we need to give Marcus Sasser some more time to develop and be patient like we have been with the rest of this young core. So just let me know your guys' thoughts on that. I just want to reiterate, I do like Marcus Sasser. I don't think that Dennis Jenkins is his replacement. I just think it'd be fun to have some more backup point guard depth and a guy in Dennis Jenkins who's playing some incredible ball right now in the Summer League. But moving on, I wanted to touch on some of the comments that Grant Hill had. I don't know if it was earlier today. I'm recording this on Monday, July 14th, but it was either over the weekend or today. And he just had some comments regarding the long-term future of this team. So I just wanted to read some quotes. The first thing he said was, with the injuries, the roster changing in Boston, and then certainly a really talented Pacers team, but also the injury to Halliburton, there's a window there. New York's still there, Hill explained. I think Detroit has an opportunity to take a step as well and be one of the better teams next season in the Eastern Conference. And then he went on to say, JB Bickerstaff, the job that he did, Trajan Langdon, the general manager, some of the free agents they brought in last summer, and then the young players, Cade Cunningham establishing himself as an all-star, says Hill. It's just a remarkable season. They took a big step last year, and I think they have a chance to take another step. I think what we have to remember is, as Pistons fans, yes, Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris were all excellent additions to add depth, but at the end of the day, the strides that Asar Thompson, Jalen Duren, Jaden Ivey, and most importantly, Cade Cunningham made are going to continue. It's not like these guys are just done growing as players. It's not like they're even in their prime or close to their prime. So there is a big room for improvement, and I think from year to year, that's going to continue to grow. So you have to just look at, for example, the 2016 and the 2019 playoff teams. Nobody really had hope that those teams were going to continue to grow and be contenders in the Eastern Conference down the stretch, because you had an older Andre Drummond, an older Reggie Jackson, an older Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Blake Griffin, and some of these guys who they were kind of at their peak right now in the best basketball that they're going to play. The guys that the Pistons took to the playoffs last year, the majority of the starters and the majority of the guys who had significant roles on the team are still very, very young, 22, 23, 24 years old, and they're only going to continue to grow. And I know Trajan Langdon notices that, and I know JB Bickerstaff notices that, and that could have a lot to do with the lack of going out and making additions, but instead of trying to add to the team, rather continue growing through the young core, because you know from year to year they're going to continue to get better, and that's the steps in the growth that your team's going to need to start competing in the Eastern Conference, not going out and adding somebody that can mess with the chemistry or is going to go and come in and take minutes, shots, just be a rotational piece that's going to affect the development of some of your young guys. So I really think that we just have to continue to be patient with this young core. You still got guys like Isaiah Stewart. You're going to get another leap from Ron Holland. We just saw it in the Summer League. He's been playing unbelievable. So there's a lot of room for improvement. Marcus Sasser's another guy that also is going to continue to grow. He's going to learn from guys like Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey and Karis LeVert and some of these guards. So there's a lot of room for improvement for this team from year to year. And I think next year, about 20 games into the year, we're going to realize, man, it's a good thing we didn't go out and replace somebody in the rotation like a Ron Holland. I wouldn't say replace, but we didn't go add another small forward or power forward that was going to take minutes away from Ron Holland, because he's playing really, really well. So I think there's just a lot to look forward for this team. And guys like Grant Hill coming out and saying that, I trust in his judgment. He knows the NBA. He's been around it for a long time. And he clearly is confident that the Pistons are going to continue to get better. But moving on, this kind of coincides with exactly what I was talking about. With the Malik Beasley situation, kind of the lack of moves in the offseason, the pivot going in the Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson direction, where we really didn't have an idea that was going to happen until about 24 hours before. And then diving right into Summer League, I think what really gets lost in everything is that Jaden Ivey is going to come back, and he was playing the best basketball of his career before his injury. And Trajan Langdon was interviewed on Friday during the Knicks game, and he basically just talked about how Jaden Ivey has made great strides through his injury. He's coming back better than he did before. He's looked the best that he's looked since the injury right now. And we know Trajan Langdon doesn't sugarcoat anything, and he tells us exactly what his plans are, and he doesn't really shy away from them. So if he's saying that Jaden Ivey is making progress, I'd bet a lot of money that he actually is. So I think we need to just kind of calm down. We have a second option right now, and if it doesn't work out, then you can go in a different direction. But he's still on his rookie deal. He's owed an extension this year. This is kind of his prove it. Tell us that you can be a guy that's worth $20+ million a year. And I personally think Jaden Ivey will do just that. We still need a few months to kind of see how he rounds out from the injury. He's got to get back into game shape, but the uncertainty is concerning, and I understand coming off of an injury like that, but I believe he can get back to a 40% shooter from three, where he's averaging 20 plus points per game on 47, 40, and 75 splits from the free throw line. I really think that he's got those talents, he's got those intangibles. We saw it on display last year. He was incredible next to Cade Cunningham, and this year he will prove that he's worthy of an extension and worthy of being Cade Cunningham's backcourt mate in the future. I know that Trajan Langdon is confident in him. I know that JB Bickerstaff is confident in him, and everybody around that organization wants to see him succeed. He's a great kid. He's got great energy, and he's just a guy that you root for to be successful. So I'm excited to see what he can do going into next year. There's going to be some question marks surrounding his health and whatnot, but if he can continue to stay healthy and play a close to or a full season next year, we're going to have our answer about whether or not he can be that second option going forward. But last topic before I wrap things up. Tomorrow, the Pistons take on the Timberwolves in Game 3 of Summer League. That game will tip off at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so I will watch that. I will dive into that, and I'll just give my thoughts for Wednesday's episode. But just kind of talking about what to expect, what to look for. Ron Holland may or may not play. I expected him not to play Game 2. He ended up playing the entire game, had an excellent game, so we'll see what that looks like. I don't know if he'll play, but if he doesn't, then it'll be fun to kind of watch guys like Chaz Lanier, Dennis Jenkins, Tolu Smith, and Bobby Klitman kind of be that main core four. And then they'll get some more shots, obviously, some more specific plays drawn up to them. But if Ron Holland does play, obviously continue to look out for his jump shot, look out for his playmaking ability, and just the fact that he looks unbelievable compared to last year. So excited for that if he were to play. But if not, then there's also a ton of other stuff to look for. Dennis Jenkins versus Rob Dillingham is going to be really exciting. I really hope Rob Dillingham plays because, like I mentioned, Dennis Jenkins has outplayed Tyler Kolek, who was the 34th pick in the 2024 draft. He outplayed Reed Sheppard, who was the 3rd pick in the 2024 NBA draft. And if Rob Dillingham plays, he will have a very, very good chance to take on Rob Dillingham, who was the 8th overall pick, and have 3 straight games of outplaying guys that were drafted before him. I mean, he wasn't drafted at all. So all of these guys, all 3 guys that I just listed were 2024 point guards taken before him, and he's got a chip on his shoulder. So I'd love to see him match up against Rob Dillingham, who's a much quicker, more change of pace guy than I'd say like a Reed Sheppard or a Tyler Kolek, but both an incredible player overall. That'd be a really fun matchup to watch. And obviously, we know what the strides that Ron made, and we know how good Dennis Jenkins has been. Tolu Smith has also been incredible, another guy that we'll have to look out for as well. But I think the main 2 guys that everybody's going to be kind of keyed in on, especially if Ron Holland doesn't play, is Chaz Lanier and Bobby Klitman. With Chaz, I'd like to see him keep firing up threes. 10 plus threes again would make me very happy. I would love to see that. Even if he only makes 4 of them again, I like to see that rhythm shot. I like to see him getting more comfortable and confident with the jump shot as well. So hopefully they keep running plays for him. I don't expect defenses to go under screens against him anymore. I don't know why the Rockets continually did that. I think the Timberwolves are going to be up on him, and they're going to get a hand up quickly. So if that is the case, I want to see that downhill drive. I need to see him put the ball on the deck and get to the cup, finish at the rim. He has not really done that whatsoever. And I think that's because Ron Holland kind of had that role as that slashing wing. So maybe Chaz Lanier was just like, I'm just going to focus on threes. Once Ron Holland's done, maybe I'll start to tap into some other parts of my game. But I think we really need to see that. If he's going to be a guy that fills rotational minutes this year as a second-round rookie, then there has to be more aspects to his offensive game that you can see translating to the NBA level. So I'd like to see him continue to work on that. We saw it a couple times in Sunday's game, but I think even more so So there needs to be some times where we're getting him in a pick and roll action as the main ball handler, trying to get downhill instead of just searching for threes. Obviously, with his skill set, the three-point shot is what we want him to kind of hone in on. But in the summer league, it's a lot of just different things, working on stuff you may not be comfortable with. So we'll hopefully see that here over the next couple of days. And then the last person I want to talk on before we end the show here is Bobby Klintman. I mean, it's really hard to evaluate his game. We know he can pass, but I do need to see some finishing at the rim, and I just need him to play bigger. I need him to play like a 6'9" forward. I need him to, he's rebounding the ball well, but I need him to back down a defender and hit a hook shot over top. I need to see some versatility in the game besides just spot up three-point shooting, because he can't be an NBA player if that's all he's going to be good at. There's a ton of other players in this league that can do that can be three-point shooters from the corner. And if you're 6'9", you're expected to rebound, you're expected to play a big role in the forward depth and in the front court rotation. So we need to see some of that variation in his game. We saw it towards the end of the year last year in the G League, and I think as his comes into his own in summer league, he will get those opportunities. I'd also love to see some rim protection and just overall defensive playmaking. Like I said, he's 6'9". He's very agile. He moves very well side to side. So there's a lot of things that he's very, very good at, and I want him to hone in on those so bad. I want to see him succeed so badly, because he would be a great option for the Pistons to have in that front court depth going forward. And he's very young, and he is a skilled player. He's very raw. He's got raw talent, but we just need to see some of those inefficiencies start to shore up as the summer league goes on, because it is G League competition. It's his glorified G League games, and if you can't compete against these guys, there's just no way you can compete at the NBA level. So let me know what you guys think of Bobby Klintman. What you've thought so far of his summer league, and just things you want to see him going forward. I think they will kind of prioritize getting him the ball and getting him opportunities to flourish as a playmaker and a scorer throughout the rest of summer league. So look out for that. I'm very, very excited for that. But yeah, game is at 4:30, like I said. On Wednesday's episode, I will dive very deep, in depth into what I've seen and just some player evaluations. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know in the comments over on Twitter your thoughts on Marcus Sasser's future on the team and what you'd like to see his role look like this year to truly get a sense if he can be a long-term rotational piece. Also, let me know what you're most excited to see from Jaden Ivey's return, and just some things you're looking forward to seeing in the summer league for the rest of the week. But as always, like, subscribe, comment, turn on post notifications, and follow me on Twitter over at Kyle Garrison too. Also, head over to Spotify, leave a follow, leave a review. Once again, thank you guys all so much for tuning in every single day. With that being said, that is going to do it here for episode 23 of Pistons Daily, and I will catch you all next time.